All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and we're going to get started. I know there's a lot of folks that will be joining late, so that's okay because we're going to record and everybody can go through this. But I don't want to dilute the time that we've got with Regina because she's talking about one of the topics that personally Regina has been coaching me on the side about delegation because it is an area of opportunity for me. And I know that based on a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from I.D.E.A.L members, that this is a common problem that we all have of how to delegate and when to delegate and who to trust and all of the things in between. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Regina, and let you take us away with your masterclass.
So I want to start off with a little story. Back in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, I helped start a small medical home health agency. It was crazy. People were disappearing, everything was shutting down, just pure chaos. You guys remember what those dark days looked like, right? And a lot like you, I traded my 40-hour week for constant, never-ending work. I wore every hat, solved every problem, and I kept telling myself, if I don't do it, who will? For 16 straight months, I worked like that. My health took a hit, my relationships fell apart, and honestly, I didn't know, I wasn't sure if I felt joy anymore. Then one day, my husband had enough. He stepped in and said, "That's it. I'm taking you away from all of this." He packed us up, dragged me to Dollywood, that first picture. And for the first time in a year, I wanted to unplug, but I couldn't. I'd hired someone before to help me before I left, but things weren't going smoothly. My phone just didn't stop buzzing. Calls, texts, questions. My new hire did not respect my boundaries, and she created more problems than she solved. Then, in the middle of it all, she went to lunch one day and never came back. That's the second picture. That's me on a bench at Dollywood. I cried and I passed out, and my kids took this picture, and I hated it for the longest time. But I realized a lot in that moment. I wonder if this sounds familiar to any of you guys. Do you ever feel like you're sacrificing moments with your loved ones because you have to handle something for work? Because if you don't fill an open shift, that means someone else's family won't get their dinner. That moment at Dollywood was my breaking point, but it was also my turning point. I realized delegation wasn't something I failed at. It was something I had to learn. It wasn't just about handing off tasks. It was about finding the right people and trusting them to carry the load. Since then, I've worked hard to figure out how to delegate in a way that actually works. I learned to hire people who shared my values, how to set clear expectations, and this is key, how to protect my time and my boundaries. Most importantly, I realized something really big. Delegation isn't about losing control. It's about making space for what really matters. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So this story is not just a personal journey. It's a universal lesson in leadership and growth. As we gather in this mastermind, we're reminded that the path to success doesn't have to be a lonely one. And I feel like that's why we're all committed to the values that I.D.E.A.L has. It requires us to build strong teams, to cultivate trust, and empower others to share in our vision. Today, we will explore how to master the art of delegation, how to develop strategies that align with our values, and create the space needed to focus on strategic priorities. If you want to transform challenges into opportunities for growth and opportunities, you're in the right place. If you want to take back your time and build a company that you don't grow to hate, this mastermind is for you. So let's get at it. A lot of what I'm going to share with you guys comes from three key sources: reading countless business books, getting into the rooms with some of the smartest people I can find, and most importantly, the 18 years of hands-on experience of starting and growing healthcare businesses. After crying and sleeping on that bench in Tennessee, I knew something had to change. So I took everything I learned and started my own virtual assistant firm. I've spent the last 3 years perfecting how to support home care teams like you. From 2022 to 2023, we grew an average of 627%. This wasn't beginner's luck though, because in 2023 to 2024, last year, we grew another 447%. By focusing on delegation and building a strong team, while also being very process-oriented, we scaled our company from just being 12 VAs to being able to provide life-changing opportunities to over 140 well-deserving VAs. Today, I'm proud to say that we serve over 70 home care agencies from Hawaii to New York, and by keeping our clients at the center of everything we do and using mistakes as an opportunity to innovate, we've earned the badge of approved and trusted vendor for some of the largest home care agencies, franchises in America. Why am I sharing this with you guys? I'm not sharing this to impress you, but to impress upon you the power of delegation. It is the single most important skill that has allowed me to achieve this level of success while also helping entrepreneurs like you do the same. If you're not yet convinced, let's bring in the big guns. So I'm a big believer in learning is earning. And no matter how busy I get, I always dedicate time to reading several books a month. Today, I want to share with you guys some of the most influential books and the key lessons that have helped me change my business. The number one, and you're going to hear these themes throughout the entire mastermind, is the 80-20% principle. And it says that backed by studies, an astonishing 80% of your results comes from 20% of your efforts. Again, 80% of your results comes from 20% of your efforts. But the problem is that most entrepreneurs waste time on the other 80% of tasks that don't move the needle. Delegation allows you to focus on the high impact 20% that drives growth. And at the start of business, your entire job as an owner is cash flow. That's your 20%. As the CEO, as the CFO of these growing companies, you have to identify what is your 20%. Number two, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It's one of the best books I've read. And it says that you don't just hire people to get tasks off your plate. You hire them to buy back your time, because time is your most valuable asset. It's non-renewable. Money comes and goes, but once time is gone, it's gone. So we must outsource low value tasks immediately. You're no longer paid to do things, but to hire smart doers. 3, the E-Myth Revisited. It says that most small businesses get stuck working in their business instead of on their business. I'm sure you guys have been guilty of this, like I have too. In order to grow, you need systems and processes that allow your business to run without you being involved in every single detail. Delegation isn't just helpful, you guys. It's essential to building a business that doesn't rely on you 24/7. My goal is to build a company that runs better without me. By embracing the principles that we're going to talk about in this mastermind, you'll not only scale your business, you'll reclaim your time, you're going to reduce burnout for you and your team, and you're going to create a company that thrives with or without you. Another thing, did you know that the top millionaires and billionaires, they adopt a forever student mindset? And their houses are filled with libraries, and you won't catch them doom scrolling on Instagram for hours on end, because it just takes one good idea to change everything. And let me share you what one of those ideas are. It's called the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. This idea has allowed me to level up again and again and again in my business. When I started my business in 2022, and to be honest, a lot of my adult life, I had this GSD mentality. GSD meaning get stuff done. That means taking everything on myself. Sound familiar? Maybe it's you, or maybe it's someone else on your team. But let me show you why that mindset has to shift. So once I proved my idea that using VAs for home care was a hit, I got buried in emails, nonstop meetings, social media, recruiting and onboarding, right? So for you guys that are experiencing a big boom in your business, you probably are feeling the same things, right? But my company's growth stalled because I was too busy doing everything instead of building systems and teams. I realized I wasn't running a business. The business was running me. You guys, I was losing hair. I was gaining weight. The lack of streamlined processes made me the bottleneck of my own company. I was stuck in hard work mode and I couldn't scale. But here's how I turned it around. I implemented the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. I started by auditing my time to identify which tasks I could delegate. Then I hired key roles to take ownership of those roles, right? If you hired smartly and you took your time to do it, not just hiring the first person that walks in your door, then you got to trust and give that person ownership and say, I need you to make this so much better than I would. When I did that, I effectively replaced myself every 3 months from doing everything to being able to step back a bit. For example, I brought on an operations manager and she was a game changer. She taught my virtual assistants how to create standard operating procedures for every one of our clients. And she implemented systems for accountability and transparency, like sending end of day reports. This transformed our client experience, turning us from a simple VA company into a long-term growth for clients. As the business grew, I continued the loop. I hired a success manager to handle onboarding. Why? Because I didn't really like doing that. I hired a recruiter. She hired better and faster, and we scaled quick. I hired another HR manager to focus on retention because you guys, retention and recruiting are two different things. And this HR manager, she built incredible training programs for our VAs to understand home care and home care specific roles. Each hire freed up my time and allowed me to focus on strategic growth. Again, my 20%, like building partnerships with Kristen, increasing brand awareness, expanding into new states. Every time I transferred a task to someone who could do it faster, better, and with more passion, I then filled my time with higher value activities that drove revenue and filled me with joy. Today, I'm like focused on strategic planning and growing our agency. My team executes ruthlessly, you guys, because it's allowing me to focus on expanding into the Canada, into the UK and Australia, only things that I can do. The buyback loop isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset that ensures you're always working on what matters most. So now you might be wondering, how does this apply to me, Regina? Well, let's talk about what is your 20%. Let's uncover what tasks are holding you back from focusing on your 20%. How much time is spent putting out fires, managing day-to-day, handling tasks that someone else could do? And if you're stuck doing these things, then how much time are you really dedicating to growing your agency? So let's go through the 3-step framework together of audit, transfer, fill. While we're doing this exercise, I want to encourage you guys to it. Don't just think about yourself. Think about your top managers, your key players, and see if they're also getting bogged down by the minutia. So audit. You have to identify tasks that are draining your time and energy. Ask yourself, am I spending too much time scheduling caregivers, recruiting, managing client complaints? Why am I still handling payroll and invoicing if I hate it? What other things am I doing that I don't really enjoy, right? Why did you guys get into home care because you wanted to do nonstop paperwork? Probably not. Are my care coordinators overwhelmed by after hours on-call duties, leaving them burnt out? They're not really enjoying their jobs anymore? Or repetitive tasks like HR paperwork eating up my team's time? And can it be automated and delegated? Then Once you've identified what tasks are draining your time and energy, now it's time to transfer by delegating those to the right people or system. Think about these possibilities. Could a VA, virtual assistant, take over caregiver recruitment? Could you implement things like Hello Hire or Augusta, which are AI platforms, to supercharge your recruitment, therefore freeing up your operations manager to focus on other things? Is your administrator stuck managing schedule, administrator that you pay buku bucks to, and she doesn't even like it? But then why is she doing this? Because you can't retain a scheduler. So what is the fix? Is HR overwhelmed by keeping up with the recruiting demands? Then who is focusing on the retention efforts? This is right. So audit, transfer, the most important one is fill. You have to then fill and replace that with high value activities, right? So one time with one of my clients, the HR lady said, well, if I give recruiting to a VA, what am I going to do? Higher value activities, retention. A VA can't help with retention. They can't build a company culture. They can't have one-on-one meetings with caregivers in the field. So you have to ask yourself, how can I grow my agency with this extra time, right? Should it be focused on building referral partnerships, improving retention? Maybe it's bringing on a new territory, grabbing more zip codes that have been on your radar. Again, now that my leadership is no longer bogged down, can we maybe implement a better system that makes our entire company run more smoothly? I want to talk to you guys about what filling your time looks like. These are high value activities. Finally tackling those back burner projects. When's the last time you looked at your SEO? Or people that are talking to Kristen as a coach, when are you going to implement these strategies that she keeps talking about and recommending? Now is the time. Actively building power partnerships like referral sources with rehabs, doctors' offices, hospice agencies, senior living communities, right? Just because you hired a marketer, that doesn't mean you need to stop marketing as an owner. Attending industry conferences, but not just showing up, actually having the bandwidth to focus and absorb new insights. You guys, I go to about a dozen plus conferences every single year for home care. And I can't tell you how many people have paid thousands of dollars to be there or to send their top managers there. And guess what they're doing? They're on their computers the whole time. Why is that? Now their money's wasted. Just stay home. You can expand your services by developing special care offerings like programs, post-surgical recovery programs, something that will help set your agency apart. I know we all know how saturated home care has become, and it's only going to get more saturated. Strengthening community ties and giving back. You want to position your agency as a trusted and engaged partner in your local area, right? Trust is huge for us. Refining your agency's brand and culture to not only attract and retain, not just clients, but exceptional caregivers and staff. And this one is my favorite. Investing in yourself as a leader, as the owner, by mastering a new leadership skill like public speaking. You guys, I used to feel like I want to throw up when I did these webinars, when I got on stage. But I knew if I wanted to be the best for my company, I had to get over it and get up there and just do it. What about refining your ability to inspire your team? Not every leader knows how to do that. So these activities, what is going to help your agency grow exponentially. But you can't do it if you're stuck in the weeds of your daily operations. You want to reclaim your time and buy back your time. You want to reclaim your time and scale your agency. Success starts with intentionality. And here's a clear roadmap you can follow to reclaim your time, empower your team, and focus on activities and focus on the high level activities. So number one, you've got to calculate your hourly value. And I'll show you guys a lot of these, some strategies after this. Calculate your hourly value. Again, audit your time, cross-reference those two, figure out what you can, and either you hire internally or you outsource. Then you empower your team and avoid what we call the whirlwind. So how do you calculate your hourly value? Again, your time is your most valuable resource. And so you need to know how much it's actually worth, right? You take your income goal, divide it by the hours you plan to work in a year, and that's your hourly value. For example, if you aim to earn $200,000 a year and you want to work 40 hours, 50 weeks, then your hourly value is then $100. Now ask yourself, are you spending your time on high value tasks that align with $100 value? Or are you doing low value activities that you could delegate for $15 an hour? Are your top paid employees focusing on high impact work? Or are they stuck on tasks that could be outsourced for much less? Here's a very practical example. I hate cleaning. I don't like scrubbing toilets. I don't like folding laundry. I don't like it. So I pay 2 professional cleaners to come in once a month. It's a team of 2 people, and they clean my house for 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. So that's 8 hours total. If my hourly rate is $100, compare that to the $21 per hour that I pay them. That's a no-brainer, right? And I get to spend that 8 hours doing something else that fills me with joy, like play pickleball with my husband after work, or I get to go on long hikes with my dogs on the weekends instead of cleaning my toilets. So calculate your hour, very important. And I think your team should know what their hourly worth is too. Audit your time. Again, we went over this. This is how you do it. You want to write down every task you handle, but you want to categorize it in one of two places. In column 1, it is your 20% that drive growth, or column 2, the 80% that are necessary but could be delegated. What I would say is take out your phone or go look at your calendar today. Schedule 3 to 5 days next week, call it audit your time, and then commit to this activity, whether it's you or your top performers, your top management. And you will quickly see what is draining your time. Third thing is hire internally or outsource to a trusted partner. Reclaiming your time means empowering others to handle 80% so you can focus on the 20% that drives growth. If you're ready to let go and scale your agency, consider these 2 options. You can hire internally. These are ideal for roles that require close collaboration and industry-specific knowledge, like your business development girl. You cannot outsource her. Your administrator, your operations manager, your care coordinators, you cannot outsource those people. Another option, outsourcing. It's a cost-effective, scalable solution. Trusted partners like Ascension Business Solutions can help you bypass really expensive salaries, benefits. Another reason to outsource is you don't have to spend time on recruiting, training, or managing. It also, what I like is it also mitigates risks and related to employment-related lawsuits, and it eliminates unnecessary overhead. So whether it's hiring internally or outsourcing, we must empower your team. How do we do that? Trust, but verify, right? To truly let go, you must empower your team to solve problems and hold them accountable for doing so. I want to say also manage your expectations, is self-sabotaging. So if you go out there and go, well, Regina, they can't do it 100 like I do, you're right. They can't do it like you do. So I say, they can do it 80%, delegate it, right? Because 80% of me getting my 8 hours a day back is 100% great. Another thing I want to teach you guys is called the 1-3-1 method. This is one of the most powerful leadership skills that I've learned. It's basically when someone gives you a problem, like a hot potato, you give it back to them and be like, no, you got this. And you guide them, right? So the 1-3-1 says, When a team member approaches you with an issue, have them clearly articulate the problem, because a problem identified is half solved. How we frame the problem directly influences the outcome or the solution that we seek. Have them come up with 3 viable solutions. This builds resourcefulness and critical thinking on their end and confidence, right? And then ask them to give you their number 1 recommendation based on their research. And more often than not, they'll discover the solution themselves. I would take it a step further. Ask them to create an SOP explaining the process and have them demonstrate it to you from start to finish. This is how you trust but verify. This is how you get away from micromanaging. You're empowering your team to take ownership and practice leadership skills. And over time, this system creates leaders on your team, and it lets you step away from the tiny details. I love the 131. I hope you guys take that with you. The last thing I want to out is you need to identify and avoid the whirlwind. What is the whirlwind? Chris Trempe taught me this. He said, it's the endless cycle of low-value tasks that are pulling you away from your strategic growth. It happens when you get dragged into things that you don't need to do. And what's worse is sometimes, especially as women, we volunteer for the whirlwind. We go, oh, I guess I'll do it because it's faster if I just get it done. No, you have to have a level of discipline of saying, nope, this is your job. I'm not going to interview a flood of caregivers. This is your job. I'm not going to be on call every weekend or nights. Let's outsource that, right? Dragged into countless meetings, or you guys yourself are causing countless meetings over things that maybe don't require that many meetings. So practice discipline. Let the whirlwind pass you by, right? Stay committed to the activities that align with your hourly value and your agency growth goals. So I want to end this by a little bit of encouragement by saying true leadership is not about doing it alone. By mastering the art of delegation, you empower others, you trust their abilities, and you focus on what truly needs your unique attention. You doing this, you create a force far greater than yourself. Okay, success comes from working harder, not smarter, not harder. You build a team where every member thrives in their own purpose. The greatest leaders are those who lift others up and they multiply their own impact through a shared vision and trust. So I want you guys to delegate boldly, lead wisely, and watch your goals become a reality. Thank you.